If you're over 60 and still eating eggs the same way you did in your 30s, we need to talk. Boiled, fried, just the whites, maybe even raw if you're still channeling Rocky Balboa. Now, I know eggs have been called nature's perfect food, and truthfully they can be if you eat them right. But here's the shocker. After 60, the same eggs you've relied on for strength, protein, and routine might be quietly working against you. Yes, really. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott. I've spent over 35 years treating older adults across the country, patients in their 60s, 70s, even 90s, and I've seen it firsthand. Eggs can either restore your vitality or drain your energy, depending entirely on how and when you eat them. It's not about fear, it's about wisdom. Because what used to be healthy in your 40s can become harmful in your 70s if you're not paying attention. That's why in today's conversation, I want to walk you through 5 common egg-eating mistakes I see among older adults. Habits that can quietly impact your memory, circulation, digestion, even the effectiveness of your medications. And don't worry, I won't tell you to give up eggs. In fact, by the end, you'll know exactly how to make them work for your body, not against it. But stick around, because mistake number 4, that's the one I see almost every senior make, and it's doing more damage than you realize every single morning. Ready? Let's begin.
1. Eating only egg whites on an empty stomach. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She was 79, sharp, active, and proud of her healthy habits. But lately, she felt off. Constant fatigue, tingling in her fingers, and foggy memory that made her forget simple things like where she left the glasses. She was walking daily, eating clean, doing everything right. Or so she thought. When we reviewed her routine, one detail stood out. Every morning, she ate 3 egg whites, no yolks, no sides, just the whites, and always on an empty stomach. She'd read somewhere that yolks were bad for cholesterol and whites were pure protein. But here's the hidden danger most seniors never hear about. Egg whites contain a compound called avidin, which binds to biotin, a critical B vitamin that supports nerve function, energy, and brain clarity. And when consumed without the yolk, especially on an empty stomach, avidin can block your body from absorbing biotin at all. Now that's not just a minor nutrient issue. Biotin deficiencies in older adults can lead to nerve discomfort or tingling, muscle weakness, mental fatigue, and confusion. And since biotin absorption naturally declines with age, removing the yolk is like cutting the brakes on an already slowing system. Once I explained this to Eleanor, we made one small change. Whole eggs, not just the whites, and always paired with something gentle, like sprouted toast or a small salad. Within weeks, her fog lifted, her energy returned, her confidence too. Here's the truth. The yolk holds the real value. Biotin for nerves, lecithin for the brain, lutein and zeaxanthin for your eyes, omega-3s to reduce inflammation. It also balances out avidin, so your body can actually use the protein from the whites. But the timing matters just as much. Eating only egg whites on an empty stomach gives avidin free rein to block absorption right when your digestion is at its sharpest. That's when harm begins, even though it feels like a healthy habit. So if you've been skipping the yolk to be safe, it might be time to rethink that strategy. You don't need less nutrition, you need smarter nutrition. And sometimes the solution is as simple as putting the yolk back where it belongs.
2. Eating raw or undercooked eggs. Let me introduce you to Mark. He was 82, a retired firefighter from Ohio, tough as nails and proud of it. For nearly 40 years, Mark started every morning with the same ritual. 2 raw eggs cracked into a glass, a splash of vodka, and straight down the hatch. It kept me strong, he said, until it didn't. Mark showed up in the emergency room, pale, dehydrated, burning with fever and clutching his abdomen in pain. The diagnosis? Severe salmonella poisoning. It hit him hard enough to land him in the ICU. Here's the thing. Your immune system doesn't work like it used to. When we're younger, the body can fight off bacteria like salmonella with little more than a stomachache. But after 60, that same infection can spiral into sepsis, a life-threatening condition where the infection enters your bloodstream and starts shutting down organs. But the danger of raw eggs doesn't end with bacteria. They also contain fully active avidin, the same compound we discussed in Part 1. When eggs are raw or barely cooked, avidin remains unbroken and continues to block your absorption of biotin, a vitamin vital for nerve health and energy. Even worse, raw eggs can disrupt the microbiome, your gut's delicate balance of good bacteria. And I can't emphasize this enough. Your gut health after 60 affects far more than digestion. It's tied to immunity, mental clarity, mood stability, risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. After Mark recovered, I sat beside him while he sipped warm broth, hands trembling. "Doc, I thought I was doing something good." I told him, "You were trying to. But what helped in your 30s might hurt you in your 80s. So here's the takeaway. Always cook your eggs fully. Poach them, steam them, boil them. Avoid raw smoothies, soft-yolked recipes, or anything that leaves the egg partly runny. What seems natural could quietly be sabotaging your nerves, digestion, and immune system. It's not weakness to adapt, it's wisdom. And wisdom is what keeps you strong when strength alone isn't enough.
3. Eating eggs with your medication. Dorothy was 76 when she came to see me. A sweet woman from Pennsylvania, always warm, always polite. She took her medications faithfully. Iron for her anemia, statins for cholesterol, and blood thinners for her heart. But despite her commitment, something wasn't adding up. Her energy was low. Her lab work was unstable. Her iron levels refused to rise. When we reviewed her routine, one habit stood out. Every morning, right after taking her pills, she'd sit at her kitchen table with 2 eggs, one boiled, one fried. It was her comfort, her routine, and unknowingly, it was sabotaging her treatment. Here's what most people don't realize. Certain nutrients in eggs can interfere with how medications are absorbed or how well they work. Let's break that down. Egg yolks are rich in vitamin K, which isn't bad unless you're on blood thinners like warfarin. A sudden rise in vitamin K can throw off your clotting balance, increasing your risk of a stroke or internal bleeding. Egg whites can bind to minerals like iron, calcium, and zinc, making it harder for your body to absorb them. That's why Dorothy's iron pills weren't doing their job. The eggs would pulling the iron out of reach. And for those taking thyroid medication, like levothyroxine, eating eggs too close to your dose can blunt absorption, leading to fatigue, brain fog, or sluggish metabolism, despite perfect pill-taking habits. Even some antibiotics, like tetracycline, can bind to egg proteins or minerals in food, becoming less effective. Once Dorothy made a simple change, waiting 2 hours after her medications before eating eggs, her lab work improved, her fatigue lifted, and for the first time in months, she felt like herself again. So, what's the takeaway? If you take medication in the morning, give your body space. Wait at least 1.5 to 2 hours before eating eggs, especially if your meds include blood thinners, iron or calcium supplements, thyroid hormones, or certain antibiotics. This isn't about giving up eggs. It's about protecting the medications keeping your heart, blood, and brain functioning as they should. Because when your food and your medicine work together, healing happens faster and more completely.
4. Eating eggs early in the morning. Let me tell you about Ronald. He was 78, a retired school principal, sharp mind, punctual soul. Every morning for over 3 decades, he'd sit at his kitchen table at exactly 6 a.m. with 2 fried eggs, a slice of toast, and a black coffee. A morning ritual he swore by. Then, one morning, he collapsed in his driveway. The doctors diagnosed him with a mild heart attack. And when we looked closer, his cholesterol was almost double the safe limit. He was stunned. "But doc," he said, "I eat clean. No donuts, no bacon, just eggs." And that's when I had to tell him something most people have never heard. It's not just what you eat, it's when you eat it. Between 6 and 8 a.m., your body produces its highest levels of cortisol, your natural wake-up hormone. Cortisol isn't bad, but it also stimulates cholesterol production in the liver. So, if you eat high cholesterol foods like eggs during that window, you're not just taking in dietary cholesterol, you're stacking it on top of what your own body is already producing. There's more. At that early hour, your digestive system is still waking up. Stomach acids are adjusting. Bile flow is slow. The machinery isn't warm yet, and heavy proteins like eggs, they hit the gut like a brick, leading to bloating, acid reflux, poor nutrient absorption. For someone in their 70s and 80s, that means less energy, more digestive discomfort, and a cholesterol load your heart may not handle well. So what did we do for Ronald? We didn't take eggs off his plate. We just shifted his egg meal to the early afternoon, around 2 p.m. And over the next few months, his cholesterol levels dropped, his digestion improved, his energy evened out, and most importantly, his heart stopped sending warning signs. So here's your take-home. Consider moving your egg meal to later in the day, especially if you have high cholesterol, take medications in the morning, experience bloating or heartburn after breakfast. It's a small adjustment, but for many of my patients, it's made a life-changing difference. Because after 60, your body runs on different rhythms, and honoring those rhythms, that's how we age with clarity, strength, and peace.
5. Frying eggs in high-temperature oil. Jane was 84 when she first walked into my office. Elegant, soft-spoken, and polite to the core. She'd lost 10 pounds in the last 3 months, not by choice. Her appetite advantaged, meals left her nauseated, and her stomach felt heavy for hours after eating. "It's probably just old age," she said with a faint smile, but I wasn't convinced. We talked through her diet. "What do you usually eat for breakfast?" I asked. She beamed with nostalgia. 2 fried eggs every single morning, in oil, just like my mother used to make. And there it was, the missing piece. Here's what many people don't know. Frying eggs in high-temperature oil, especially in older age, can quietly inflame your gut, destroy nutrients, and speed up cognitive decline. When oil is heated past its smoke point, it breaks down and releases harmful compounds like aldehydes and acrylamides. These substances irritate the stomach lining, disrupt digestion, and burden your liver, especially when consumed daily. Jane's symptoms weren't just aging. They were a slow burn from years of high-heat cooking. But the damage didn't stop in her stomach. High-heat frying also destroys choline, a vital nutrient concentrated in egg yolks. Choline supports brain function, memory retention, and slowing cognitive decline. And after 60, your need for choline increases. So destroying it before your body even gets the chance to absorb it, that's like pouring water on the ground when your brain is thirsty. And then there's the protein. Egg proteins are delicate by nature. When exposed to high temperatures, they denature excessively, meaning they twist into shapes your digestive system struggles to break down. In younger people, this may lead to mild bloating, but for older adults with slower digestion, it can cause heartburn, malabsorption, and gut inflammation. I gently suggested Jane try low-heat cooking, steaming or boiling her eggs instead. We also added calming herbs like turmeric and black pepper for flavor and anti-inflammatory support. Within a month, her symptoms faded, her appetite came back, and with it, a lightness in her voice that had been missing for too long. So here's what I want you to take from Jane's story. If you're still frying eggs in hot oil, especially vegetable or seed oils, consider a change. Try steamed or soft-boiled eggs, gentle pan cooking with olive oil on low heat, poached eggs with herbs for flavor and support. You don't have to sacrifice tradition. You just have to adapt it to fit the body you live in now, not the one you had at 40. Because sometimes healing doesn't mean giving something up. It just means cooking it with a little more care.
6. Conclusion. After more than 3 decades sitting across from older adults, patients just like you, I've learned one thing that never changes. It's rarely what you eat that causes problems. It's how, when, and why you eat it. Eggs are not your enemy, but the wrong habits around them, those can quietly chip away at your energy, your memory, your circulation, and even the effectiveness of your medications. So let's quickly recap what we've uncovered together. 1. Eating only egg whites, especially on an empty stomach, can rob your body of biotin, leading to nerve discomfort and deep fatigue. 2. Eating raw or undercooked eggs increases your risk of dangerous infections and disrupts your gut health, which is tied to everything from immunity to memory. 3. Eating eggs too close to medications like blood thinners, iron supplements, or thyroid pills can block absorption and reduce their power to protect you. 4. Eating eggs early in the morning during your body's cortisol peak can quietly raise cholesterol and strain digestion when your system is still waking up. 5. Frying eggs in high-temperature oil destroys key nutrients like choline and introduces toxic byproducts that burden your gut and your brain. Now, if that sounds overwhelming, take a breath, because here's the part most people miss. You don't need to give up eggs. You just need to treat them with the same care and intention you give your medications. So here's how to make them work for your aging body, not against it. Eat the whole egg. Don't fear the yolk. Cook them gently. Steam, poach, or soft boil when possible. Time them wisely. Late morning or early afternoon is best. Pair them with real food, vegetables, whole grains, healthy fats. Avoid them within 2 hours of taking key medications. A small change in how you prepare and time your eggs may do more for your energy, your heart, and your mind than any pill ever could. Because the truth is, your body is still listening, still adapting, still healing when you give it the chance. So tomorrow morning, before you crack that egg, pause and ask yourself, is this healing me or quietly harming me? Your answer might just shape the next 10 years of your life.